So we're graphing inequalities here. I just treat this as you're graphing an equation. So I just treat this as y equals 1/2 x minus 3. It's the same idea. So when you start graphing it, just think of that first, that equation first. So how would you graph that equation, y equals 1/2 x minus 3?
Start at -3.
Start at -3, so that's our y-intercept. So there's our y-intercept. So I'm going to graph that. -3. So 0, -3. Okay, and now what do I do from there, Miley?
Can I get a tissue?
You go up 1 over 2.
Up 1 over 2. So we have a slope. We have a slope of 1/2.
Yeah.
So we're going to go up 1 over 2. And plot that point. What we're going to do here is start at the 0, -3. We go up 1 and over 2. That's our slope, which is 1/2, up 1 over 2. And then graph the other line. So now we have to freeze for a second. Usually, on our previous stuff, we just graph the line. Okay? But now we have to look at the line and see, is it dashed or is it solid? Is it equal to or is it just...
It's solid. That one's solid.
That one's solid. So since it's equal to, it's underlined. That's the same as having an equal sign over here. So we're going to have a solid line going through those points. So I'm going to try to draw the best line I can. Not bad. So once we have that line, it's solid. That tells us right there, solid line.
Wait, so
Go ahead.
say a solid line. That's it's gonna be solid because you're drawing it.
Well, if it were dashed,
You gotta put a dot.
we'd have to put dash, and you can even draw it. I'll show you another one more problem after this. You can draw a line and then you can erase if you want to draw a dashed. So now we're not quite done yet, because the question is that y equals, the whole idea here is we have y is greater than or equal to this line. So I know before you think, oh, it's greater than, it must be above here. That's not always going to work correctly. So what we do is we test a point. Because here's what's going to happen. We're either going to shade the top of the line or we're going to shade the bottom of the line. Okay, so those are your two options. So we want to see which side we're going to shade. So what I do is I take a point on one of the sides and test it. If it's true, we shade that side. Which of these points is the most basic point possible? 0, 0 is pretty darn basic. It's the origin, you have zeros. So what you do is you take this equation, this inequality, and you just substitute in 0, 0. So you get 0 is less than or equal to, is greater than or equal to 1/2 times 0 minus 3. What's 1/2 times 0? 0. So 0 is greater than or equal to -3. Is that true or false?
True.
True. 0 is greater than or equal to negative. That's true. So since that's true, that means 0, 0 is shaded. So that means this point right here is going to have some shade on it. So all of this on this side of the line is shaded. And we can either, I actually just kind of usually draw like lines away from it, but you just kind of think of it as, actually, let's see if I can draw, ooh, let's go gray. So I would shade all of this above the line because 0, 0 is shaded.
Why do you make it gray?
Because I didn't want to make it a different color because that gray makes it obviously it's shaded above. I wanted to do this one because it doesn't have the equal to, and it's not in the same form. So if I wanted to graph this, -x plus y is greater than 1, how would you start graphing that?
Oh wait, you can't graph it, can you?
You can graph it.
Oh.
How are you gonna graph an X?
You gotta don't you have to put it
Always has a 1.
Ow. Oh, wait, I don't know.
I think you were right. what you're gonna say.
Oh, put it in x plus b or
Yeah,
form?
let's
Yeah.
put it in y equals form. So again, I just assume, I pretend that this is the same as that. Oops, didn't want to do that. As that. Now, how would I put this into y equals form like Dom said?
Oh, you add the x, so you put it on the other side.
Add the x to both sides. And so now we have y equals 1 plus x. So now my sign is the same as it was up here, like this inequality sign. So I'm going to go ahead and go y is greater than 1 plus x. Okay, so how would I graph? Where do I start at for 1 plus x? Y equals 1 plus x. At 1 on the y-axis, right? So here's my y-intercept. So that's 1. And what's my slope going to be?
1, 1.
Yeah, up 1 over 1. This is our slope, is our coefficient in front of the x. So our slope equals 1. So we're going to go up 1 over 1. So now, what Eric said before is, well, how are you going to dot it? I mean, is this dashed or is this solid?
Dash.
It's dashed. So this is definitely a dashed line. So you have two options. You can either draw it with your guys' pencils. You might just do a dashed line, and that's what I usually do. Kind of just go and kind of just do like this.
Crap all over my shoes. Like chocolate syrup. Chocolate syrup.
So once you do the dashed line,
Hell no.
Eric, can you?
There's chocolate syrup on it.
There's chocolate syrup on your shoe. I get that.
On my sock.
On your sock. Okay, Eric.
Leaks though.
It's all over the place.
So once you have your line, okay, we want to shade a certain side. We have the line, it's dashed. How do you figure out which side of this you're going to shade?
You guys find out what's true.
You got to find out a point and see if it's true. So again, it doesn't matter. You could pick any point you want. You could go out here and pick 8, 4. But the problem is when you plug in an 8, 4, it's not always the easiest to work with, right? So that's why I typically always pick 0, 0. Unless that's on the line, I'll pick 0, 0. If it's on the line, you're going to have a little bit of issues. So this one, 0, 0 is not on the line. I'll pick 0, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and just think about, okay, is that point going to be shaded? So I go up here, and I substitute a 0, 0 in for x and y. What's negative 0? Well, really don't have that. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 is greater than 1. Is that true or false?
False.
False. So that means we are not going to shade 0, 0. So that means I will not shade this side, so I have to shade this side. I'll go a little darker this time. Like that. And I'll shade up here. And that's how you do these problems.